We continue now at the top of Daf Ayin Amud Beis Meseches Avodah Zara. This is Avodah Zarah Daf 70b. The Gemara says, Ahi Revisa, there was a young non-Jewish girl, Dishtakach Tahavis Beidani, that she was found among the barrels of wine. Vahavis Nikita Ufya Biyada, and in her hand there was the foam from the wine. Amar Rava said, Cham Rashari, the wine is permitted, Amor Migaba de Chavisa Shakalte, because we can say that she took it from the outside of the barrel. V'afagav deleka su, and even if there's no more foam that's visible on the outside of the barrel, Amor Isramuye Isramilo, we can say that at the time that she came, at the time that she was there, there was some foam on the outside of the barrel, and that is what she took. That is what is in her hand. And the Gemara continues, Ahu pulmisa desolik l'nahardoi. There was an army that went to Nahardoi. Paschu chavisa tuva. They opened a lot of barrels. Kiyasa Rav Dimi Amar. When Rav Dimi came, he said, Uvda hava kamed Rebbe Lazar. There was a case like this in front of Rebbe Lazar. V'shara, and he said that it was permitted. V'lo yadan, and I don't know. Imishum desavar lo Rabbi Eliezer. Is it because he holds like Rabbi Eliezer, the Amar Safik biyatar, who says that if there's a Safik, if the person entered, then we say tar, we say pure. This was mentioned on the previous summit. The idea is that we don't know if the people from this army, if they were not Jewish or Jewish, and therefore we don't even know that an Ovid Kochavim entered. Rabbi Eliezer said that in such a situation by Tumah we can be lenient, and so here we can be lenient as well. That's one possible explanation of why we would be lenient. Imisham desavar, or is it because he holds Ruba de Ozli Bahade Pulmisa, most of those who go along with this army, Yisrael Ninu, they're Jews, and therefore it's not a problem. But the Gemara continues and asks, Ihachi, if so, Hai Safik Bia, Safik Magahu. This is not a Safik Bia. As Rashi notes, we'll see Rashi in a moment, according to the first explanation, we know that these were not Jewish people. So why is that a Safik Bia, a Safik whether the person entered? That's a Safik Maga. That's like a Safik where we know the person entered the field, and we just don't know if he touched the Tumah. And so therefore we should be strict. Why are we considering this like a Safik Bia? And the Gemara answers to that, Kevan demiftachi tuva, since they opened many barrels, ema adaita dememona paschu. So we can say that they're really entering to find money. As we mentioned also on the previous Amud, sometimes they're entering to find money. If thieves are entering to find money, they're not interested in pouring the wine as a libation to Avoda Zara, and therefore there's an additional doubt, and an additional reason to say that it's mutter, or chesafik bia dami, therefore it's equivalent of a safik bia, and that's what the Gemara meant when they said maybe we're following Rabbi Eliezer, that Safik Bia is Tahar. And Rashi explains, Amor Migava de Chavisa Shakalta, again in the case where the young non-Jewish woman is holding the foam of the wine, so we say that maybe she got that from the outside of the barrel and we're lenient. Rashi notes, Vidafka Revisa, this is only true by a young girl, De'eni Yodas Betiv Nisach, she doesn't know anything about pouring libations to Avodah Zara, Velo Masra Nafsha Laminga, she's not going to bother touching it, Aval Gedola, but if she'd be older, Miki Chazinan de Nikita Ufya, once we see she has the foam, Lo Talinan Lakula, then we would not be lenient. Afagav Deleka Su, and then the Gemara said, even though there is no further, meaning she'ein sham ufya od, meaning even if there's no other foam, now we have more reason to say that she got it from inside the barrel, but still, amor isrami dahach ufya hu dahavoy hasa. Maybe it happened to be that this was outside the barrel. Pulmasa rosh hagaya sar hatzava. The pulmasa here refers to the head of the army. Again, and they came and they opened many barrels of wine. And the halacha was paskind. When Rav Dimi came, he said that there was a case like this in front of Rebbe Lazar, and he said it was mutter. But I don't know why he said it was mutter. Rashi says, "V'lo yadana ishara misham safek ovid kochavim safek Yisrael." Did he say it was permitted because we don't know if this was a non-Jew or it was a Jew? Och Rabbi Eliezer damar safek biatar. That would follow Rabbi Eliezer, who says if there's a safek, if the person entered, we say tar. Ulekamei parach, and the Gemara later will ask, "Halav safek biahu." This is not a safek of entering. Devadei of the kochavim hayu, because according to this understanding, they certainly were of the kochavim. The other possibility said that the majority of those who come with the pulmusa, with the head of the army, Yisrael Ninu, they're Jewish, and therefore Vazlinan Basaruba Delekasveka. According to that understanding, we follow the majority. There is no doubt, and that's why we would be lenient. And Rashi continues, the Gemara then said, Kevan demiftachi tuva, since they're opening many barrels, there's more reason to be lenient. Harbe yoser michadei tzorach shesiyas, and they're opening many more than they need for drinking. Mukha milsa da'adaita de mamona paschu, it's clear that they're opening it to find money. Uvignu v'sayu teridi, and like Rashi mentioned in the previous Amud, they are busy with their stealing, and therefore that is an additional reason to be lenient. And the Gemara continues, Ahi misubisa de masr like lida lovedes kochavim. There was an owner of a store that sold wine, and she gave the keys over to an ovedes kochavim, to a non-Jewish woman. Amar Rabbi Yitzchak, Amar Rabbi Lazar. Rabbi Yitzchak said that Rabbi Lazar said, Uvda hava be midrasha. There was a case like this brought before us in the Beis Medrash. V'yamru, and they said, Lo masr lo el shmiras maftech bilvad. She only really gave her the watching over the key. She wasn't giving her permission to enter, and therefore the wine is permitted. And the Gemara continues, Amar Abaya says, Afanon nami tanina. We learned the same thing in a Mishnah in Meseches, Taharos hamoser maftechos li amoretz. If somebody gives the keys over to an amoretz, taharos of tahoros, those things that he's trying to keep pure remain pure. Lefi shalom maser lo el shmiras maftech bilvad, because he was only telling him to guard over the key. And so the Gemara says, Hashta taharos of tahoros. If this is true about the produce that is pure, so yayin nesach miboy, do we even need to say it by yayin nesach? Of course, the wine will also be okay. The Gemara says, Lameimer, does this mean to say that taharos alimi miyay nesach, that taharos are stricter than yayin nesach? We're saying if the taharos remain pure, then surely there's no problem of yayin nesach, as if the taharos are stricter. Is that really true? And the Gemara says, yes, that is true. The Itmar, because it was stated, Chotzer shechilka b'mesipus. Let's say you have a courtyard and it has a low partition. You divided it up with a low partition. Amar Rav says, taharos of tameos, that those things which you're trying to keep pure are not considered to be pure. The case is it's divided between a chover and an amoretz, and we say that the amoretz may have made the taharos impure. Uvi ovid kochavim, and when it comes to an ovid kochavim, eino osa yayin nesach. It does not pose a problem of yayin nesach. So you see, we're strict by taharos, but we are lenient when it comes to yayin nesach in this case. Rabbi Yochanan says, af taharos of tahoros. In this case, even the pure things, they remain pure. So there is a machlokas amoraim in this case. Rav says that when it comes to the taharos, we are strict, and Rabbi Yochanan says we are lenient. And the Gemara continues, Meisva, we have a question on this from the following Brisa. Hapnimis shel chaver. Let's say you have a courtyard. The inner area belongs to a chaver who's keeping everything pure. V'hachitzona shel amoretz, and the outer area belongs to the amoretz. Oso chaver shoteach sham peiros. The chaver can spread out his fruit over there. Umeniach sham kelim, and he can put his vessels. V'yafapi sheyado shel amoretz magas l'sham. Even though the hand of the amoretz can reach where he's putting his peiros and his kelim, still we say that it remains pure. And so you see from this brayso, so we're lenient. It seems like Rabbi Yochanan kasha l'Rav. This is a difficulty for Rav, who said that we are strict in the situation where there was that low partition. And the Gemara says, Amar lach Rav. Rav will say to you, Shani Hasam, it's different over there. Shenit basal of Kaganov. There he has no business whatsoever being in the area of the chaver, because the Ovid Kochavim is the Amoritz rather is on the outside. He has no business going into the inner Chotzer, and therefore if he does go there, he is treated like a thief, and that's why we are lenient in that case. And the Gemara continues, Tashma, coming here a proof from the following brayso. This is from the Tosefta. Rav Shimon ben Gamliel Omer, Rav Shimon ben Gamliel says, Gago shel chaver l'ma'ala migago shel amoretz. Let's say the roof of a chaver is above the roof of an amoretz. Also, chaver shoteach sham peiros, that chaver is allowed to spread his fruits out over there. Omineach sham kelim, and he can place his vessels over there. Uvilvad shalota yadu shel amoretz magas l'sham, as long as the hand of the amoretz is not able to reach that area. And so the Gemara says, Kashal Rabbi Yochanan. This is difficult according to Rabbi Yochanan, because in this brayso we seem to be being strict that if his hand can reach the area, then it's problematic. Rabbi Yochanan was the one who said, Af taharos of tahoros, that we say that those things that are pure remain pure. And the Gemara continues, Amar lach Rabbi Yochanan will say to you, Shani Hasam, it's different over there, the Islay l'shtamute, because the Amoritz, he has an excuse. Meimar Amar, he can say, Imtsure kamimtsura, some translate this as, he can simply say, I was stretching out my hand, I wasn't trying to tamper with anything, and therefore, again, in a situation where he has an excuse, we are more strict. Rashi says, Imtsuri, what it means is, Degag kamitzarna ani mechavin lemidas binyan. Shani wrote a limdod lekach. I wanted to measure over here the measurement of the building. Lekacho shatati asyadi. That's the reason why I stretch out my hand. Same basic idea. He has some excuse. And Rashi continues, Lashon Acher, another explanation, Mitshuvas HaGaonim, this is from the Tshuvas HaGaonim, Mismogeg Ani, which means, again, he can just say that he was stretching out. Vegarsinan, according to that, we have the text of Imtsude Kam Imtsadna, and so again, if there is an excuse, so then we have more reason to be strict. And the Gemara continues, Tashma, come and hear the following proof from a Braisa, Gago shel chaver bitzad Gago shel Amoritz, if the roof of the chaver is next to the roof of the Amoritz, also chaver shotech sham peros, that chaver can spread his produce over there, umeniach sham kelim, and put vessels over there, v'afal pi sheyadu shel Amoritz magas l'sham, and even though the hand of the Amoritz can reach there. And so from here we see that we are lenient, and the Gemara says kasha l'Rav, therefore this is a difficulty to Rav. And the Gemara says, Amar lach Rav, Rav will say to you, Lav ikar Rav Shimon ben Gamliel dekoi kavasi, isn't there the opinion of Rav Shimon ben Gamliel that is like me? Anodi amri Rav Shimon ben Gamliel, I say, like Rav Shimon ben Gamliel. And Rashi explains, Bitzad Gago, if it's next to the roof of the Chaver, She'eno Gavoa Mimenu, the point of this price is it's not higher up. You can't give the answer that we gave before, that he can give an excuse that he's just stretching. You can't say that in this situation. And the Gemara answers on behalf of Rav that Anod de Amri, Rav Shimon ben Gamliel, I can say like Rav Shimon ben Gamliel. The Yomer Le'el, he says earlier, Vilvad Shalota Yado Shal Amoretz Magas Sham. Rav Shimon ben Gamliel said that it has to be that the hand of the Amoritz is not able to reach there. And Rav will simply say there's no difference if the roof of the chaver is higher or if it's at the same level, and therefore essentially Rav can argue that Rav Shimon ben Gamliel holds like him. And the Rav Shimon ben Gamliel that we are referring to is the Rav Shimon ben Gamliel in the Braisa just brought above, again where Rav Shimon ben Gamliel Omer Gago shel chaver lemala, the case where the roof of the chaver is above the roof of the Amoritz. And there it said in that Braisa, Vilvad shalot hayadu shel Amoritz magas l'sham. That's why it seemed to be that Braisa was being strict. And again, Rabbi Yochanan answered that Braisa is strict because the Amoritz can have an excuse that he's stretching or similar excuses. But again, Rav won't say that. Rav will say that Rav Shimon ben Gamliel is actually strict just like him. And the Gemara continues with the Mishnah, Bulshis shenichneso la'ir, if a military unit enters a city, b'shas shalom, if it's a time of peace, so chavios psuchos asuro, so when they leave, if you have open barrels of wine, those are forbidden, stumos mutaros, but if they're closed barrels of wine, those are permitted, b'shas milchama, but if they're entering at a time of war, so elu ve'elu mutaros, then it doesn't matter if it's open or closed, it is always permitted, l'fisha ein panai l'nasech, since they're involved in a war, they don't have time to pour libations, and we will continue with this discussion in the next video on Daf Ayin Aleph Amud Aleph.